Throughout history, civilizations across the globe have developed legends of undead creatures that haunt the land in search of victims to feed upon. Select each of the labeled regions on the map and learn what vampiric creatures inhabit this world of ours. Though Bram Stoker and his reinvention of the vampire myth in the novel Dracula is by far the greatest link Great Britain has to the modern vampire, the historical presence of malignant, bloodthirsty revenants is by no means foreign to this region of the world. As early as the 12th century, official reports were written on the subject. Cases of the dead, rising up from their tombs at night and tormenting their families and loved ones, were circulating throughout the British Isles and in Western Europe. By and large, these restless souls were those of the excommunicated, or suicides, banished from the church and its salvation, and hence buried in unsanctified ground. Suspicious deaths and bad fortune were attributed to these nocturnal visits from the grave, and officials and townspeople were roused into action to prevent further torment. When the bodies of the departed were exhumed, they were splattered with the fresh blood of their victims. Without a specific classification for these disturbances, they were simply and directly called cadavers sanguisugus, Latin for blood-sucking corpse. It was said that the best way to dispose of these creatures of the night was to pierce them with a sword, and then to cremate the body. The modern vampire stems from the evolutionary line of the Slavic vampire, though the transformation over the years has been great. The Slavic vampire first emerged in the Balkans at the beginning of the 9th century, and over time became a very significant figure in Slavic mythology. The causes of vampirism in the Slavic tradition revolved around problems associated with a person's birth or death. For example, a baby born with a tail or a membrane cap on his or her head, a person who had been excommunicated, or a suicide were all liable to become vampires. Murderers, thieves, drunkards, and witches were likely candidates as well. As vampire lore spread throughout Eastern Europe and Russia, it was modified by each country according to its respective beliefs and traditions. In the Czech Republic and Slovakia, the vampire is believed to have 2 souls and 2 hearts. The presence of the second soul is evident by the corpse's ruddy complexion, open eyes, 2 curls in its hair, and an absence of rigor mortis. This breed of vampire has the ability to kill its victims with a mere evil eye. In Poland, a person with a red face and a hyperactive personality is thought to be a future vampire. These types must be watched very closely. The Russian vampire, or upir, has the ability to capture a victim's gaze with its evil eye and lead them to their grave. In the mid-15th century, Vlad Tepes, also known by the surname Dracula, was the Prince of Wallachia, an ancient kingdom now part of Romania. Vlad was the historical figure on which Bram Stoker based his Count Dracula. Though not considered a vampire in his day, there was some grounding for Stoker's interpretation. Vlad was known as a most severe ruler, who took great pleasure in impaling his enemies on long spikes, and was even rumored to drink of their blood. The true vampire of Romania was the strigoi, of which there are 2 types, a living vampire and an undead version that has risen from the grave. In Romania, being born out of wedlock, dying before baptism, or being the 7th child of the same sex in a family can all cause one to become a strigoi. The strigoi mort were those vampires who had risen from the dead. The term vampire was first used in a report concerning the incident that took place in Hungary in 1725. A peasant by the name of Peter Blagojevich died and allegedly returned as a vampire and killed some 8 or 9 people in his village. The report claimed that Peter, 10 weeks following his death, turned into a vampire, visited people on their deathbeds, and strangled them. Hailing also from Hungary was another source of Bram Stoker's inspiration, Countess Elizabeth Báthory. In the early part of the 17th century, Countess Báthory tortured and murdered hundreds of young girls for their blood. She believed that by bathing in virgin blood, she could make her skin look younger. She even took to drinking the blood of prettier victims, thinking it would preserve her youth. Her first victims were peasant girls. When she failed to see any results after bathing in their blood, she was certain she needed the blood of a nobler class. In the end, she reportedly killed over 600 girls, both peasants and noblewomen. In 1611, she was captured, tried, and sentenced to spend the rest of her life in a small, windowless room in her castle. She died 2 years later. Legends of vampiric figures date back to ancient Mesopotamia, the lands of the Assyrian and Babylonian empires between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. There, a demon goddess, Lamashtu, whose name means she who erases, terrorized villages and homes at night, preying primarily upon babies, whether in their cribs or even in the womb. Lamashtu was also known to feed on the blood of men and torment them in their dreams, even causing sterility and disease. These legends gave rise to those of the Lamia and Striges in ancient Greece, creatures with the upper body of a beautiful woman and lower body of beasts. As with Lamashtu, the Lamia, who were part serpent, and the Striges, who were part carrion bird, preyed upon babies and children, stealing them away and drinking their blood. In more modern Greece, a person that has been excommunicated from the Orthodox Church, has committed suicide, or has suffered a violent death, may become a vrikolakas. This reanimated corpse has the ability to leave its grave every day but Saturday. The vrikolakas will knock on doors and call out the names of those inside. If a person responds, he or she will die soon thereafter. The vrikolakas grows more and more powerful with age, but can be killed by a stroke of lightning or fire. The Rakshas are creatures completely antisocial in nature and evil to the core. All wickedness in thought, word, and deed is attributed to these horrifying demons. Making their homes in cemeteries, barren wastelands, and forests, the Rakshas spend their time disrupting rituals and devotional ceremonies and attacking and killing infants and pregnant women. They are nocturnal creatures with long fangs, and they come in a variety of forms. Aside from the Rakshas, India has several more vampiric figures. The Bedales are said to be reanimated corpses that wander the night and cause great troubles in the world. Women who die unnatural deaths are apt to become Chudales. If they are treated badly in their lives, they will revisit those that hurt them and dry up the blood of all the males in the family. Though possessing the ability to appear seductive and beautiful, any man who stays with a Chudale throughout the night will return home in the morning a gray-haired, old man. The Chudale has one distinct feature which betrays them. Their feet are turned backwards, so their heel is in the front, with toes pointing behind. By day, the Asema takes the form of an old man or woman and lives a very normal life. At night, however, this creature sloughs off its skin and transforms into a ball of blue light, enabling it to fly through town and enter the homes of its victims through open windows to drain their blood. Eating garlic is the best defense against the Asema, as it makes the blood bitter and of no interest to them. Central America is home to the vampire bat and also to the Mayan vampire Camazotz. Camazotz appears as a man bat with a long, sharp nose, large teeth, and claws. He is known to be bloodthirsty, with a special interest in virgin blood. When he hunts at night, he is accompanied by 1,000 bats. Another vampire of the region is Suatateo. These demonic creatures are said to have once been mortal women who died in childbirth. The Suatateo, resentful of their loss in life, wander the night and attack children, leaving them horribly diseased or even paralyzed. A more recent addition to the vampiric creatures of the Americas is the chupacabra, which literally translates to goat sucker. This odd creature allegedly roams the countryside sucking the blood of farm animals. To date, there have been no reports of attacks on a human, but few believers in the chupacabra think that it is outside the realm of possibility for one to do so. The chupacabra has been described by some as a reptile-like creature with quills like a porcupine running down its back, with large red eyes and a long, snake-like tongue. Sightings of the chupacabra have been reported in Mexico, Puerto Rico, and even the United States. The Yarmayahu comes from Aboriginal cultures in Australia. Described as a 4-foot-tall red man with octopus-like suction cups for hands and feet, this vampire has no teeth, but can purportedly swallow a person or animal whole with its giant head and mouth. The Yarmayahu lives high up in wild fig trees where it awaits unsuspecting prey. When a person approaches too closely, the little red man leaps down upon them. The Yarmayahu rarely kills the victim, however. The creature swallows the victim whole in a single gulp. Once satiated, the creature drinks some water, becomes drowsy, and then takes a nap. After it rests, it regurgitates the undigested portion of the person. Though this generally doesn't cause the victim to die, and off encounters with the Yarmayahu will certainly cause the victim to turn into one. In China, there are several versions of the undead, some of them even bloodsuckers. The vampire most familiar to Westerners, however, is the Qiangxi. According to legend, a corpse can take this vampiric form if, before burial, it has been exposed to sunlight or moonlight, or if a cat has jumped over it. A person may also become a Qiangxi if they have led a dishonest or sorrowful life, committed suicide, or been given an improper burial. The Qiangxi wanders through the night and nourishes itself on living blood, as well as the blood of corpses. This Chinese vampire may appear as it did before death, and can be quite seductive and beautiful, but more often than not, its entire body is covered with white hair. Some tales indicate that the Qiangxi has poisonous breath, cannot climb ladders or cross moving water. The only way to destroy this creature is to cremate the corpse. Finding its home in Japan, the kappa is an unattractive, greenish-yellow vampiric creature with webbed fingers and toes, a long nose, and a tortoise-like shell. The kappa lives in or near bodies of water, preying primarily upon horses and cows by draining them of their blood. On occasion, the kappa has been known to venture forth from its habitat to terrorize humans and steal their livers. These odd vampires also have a taste for melons and cucumbers. A person can protect his or her family from the kappa by writing the names of family members on a cucumber and throwing it into the water where the kappa lives. The Penanggalan, a Malaysian vampire, is truly one of the most horrifying of blood-sucking creatures. During the day, the Penanggalan is a beautiful, serene woman. At night, her head will detach from her body with her stomach and intestines dangling below her neck. This creature soars through the night searching for children whom she exsanguinates. Even the slightest contact with the fluids which drip from her entrails will cause a person to immediately fall ill. Thorn bushes offer the best protection from the Penanggalan, as their viscera get caught and tangled when they try to pass. Legend has it that the Lang Suyar, also from Malaysia, was once a beautiful woman who, after giving birth to a stillborn child, became so distressed that she turned into a vampire. The Lang Suyar has been described as a banshee-like flying demon with beautiful, ankle-length black hair and long fingernails. She wears a long green robe and preys on children, sucking their blood through a hole on the back of her neck. To tame this vampire, one must cut off her hair and nails and stuff them with a hole in her neck.